Hey guys, it's Ken Maxfield, the Hide Guy. I am the president and the owner of the Maxfield Report, and here is your market recap for the week ending June the 21st. The week started out with a bit of a mixed bag on Packer offers. Some of the Packers had reduced some of the selections they were willing to offer, predominantly heavy native steers, butt branded steers, while some of the other Packers still continue to have a full complement of offers. As far as asking prices, for the most part, they were another mixed bag, steady for most people, although there were a handful of selections where Packers were trying to seek out maybe another dollar higher than their last trade. This is because since the middle of May, there's been some decent sales here over the course of the past few weeks, and some of the Packers have been able to mend their sold forward positions, and actually some trading levels are up off their lowest levels of the year that we saw back in May. So not trying to pontificate that the market is better and we're going higher, but normal commodity trading, we found the bottom of the market. We've got a nice soft rebound off the bottom, and that's what's taking place. As far as interest this week, it started out a little slow. A lot of people talking about not having a lot of bids. However, by the second half of the week, things picked up. A lot of the Packers were reporting to have more bids to look at than they had last week. The other good news is the people looking for bargains, or the bottom feeders as they're commonly called by a lot of people in the trade, they weren't so prevalent. The people looking to bid $5 or more below asking prices, those weren't out there, and if they were, there was going to be nobody to counter. So the good news is the bids that came in were much closer to asking prices. It's believed there was a decent amount of hides traded this week. Not sure if we saw enough to clear the kill, but I think next Thursday when we see that export report, we're going to see combined sales maybe fall a little short of the harvest, but not by a lot. So cowhides offer list still populated. There was reports one of the large producers did not have as many hides offered. They were actually trying to raise some asking prices. As far as interest this week, it seemed like a lot of the interest coming in was down $2 to $3 versus the week prior. That's on the heels of a large trade by one of the main processors of a couple 250 containers of branded cows. That encouraged a lot of people to to change their price ideas and try to push the market lower. That continued all week until last night. Came to light that most of these buyers, they weren't going to be able to push prices down that low. We're understanding from some of our friends that there is some business concluded at steady levels. The one selection that's down a little bit are dairy cows. We'd been telling you earlier there'd been enough interest, but apparently, some of these guys selling dairy cows held out a little too long, had to take a couple bucks down. So the dairy cow market is, for some, is under pressure there. So overall, I don't know if they sold enough to clear their production, and I would call prices a very soft, steady at best. As far as the harvest this week, the number came in at 662. That compares to 665 last week and 658 a year ago. Cattle were sold cheaper this week, $2 to $3 down. You got the 4th of July here in a couple of weeks. I think that's setting up next week. We could see something up over 670 next week as Packers try to get as much beef into the retail stores as possible for people to enjoy over that 4th of July holiday. Export report was somewhat surprising in terms of sales. Sales of wet salted hides, 550,000. Shipments on wet salted came in at 420,000. Sales of wet blue at roughly 120,000, and exports of wet blue at 127,000. So on the sales side, pleasantly surprising. I'm not sure if you want to say it's bullish, but it's probably neutral. It would be a better call. Shipments a little bearish. They continue to fall short of the harvest. And an interesting note, we wrote about it in our commentary, shipments for the second quarter have fallen short of the harvest by almost 1 million hides. So keep an eye on that one. There's a lot of hides starting to stack up behind some of these producers. You can have them all sold, but you got to be able to ship them. Looking around the globe real quick, our friends in Europe, we heard that there's some German and Polish suppliers trying to talk the market up, or at least saying the market had bottomed. It was steady. They weren't going to take any less money. However, they forgot to tell all the other people in Europe selling hides, because they still have some hides for sale. Trading, it's being reported as steady. I think there's been what I like to call some farting underneath the covers. There's been sales concluded, I think, at levels lower than what they're reporting. That's what's happened. That's what's having to happen, in order to get stuff moved in Europe, especially on cowhides. And I think that market still remains under pressure. In Brazil, it's gotten to a point where the only wet blue hide that's able to command a price more than the cost to produce are tier ones. I'm hearing trading between 42 to 45 cents. Trading levels on TR2s and lower are to a point where it's not even paying to blue the hide. There's still a lot of wet blue for sale, a lot of problems there. Fresh hides, no change there. Packers are begging people to take loads. They're offering to do, almost stand on their head, taking out whatever they can in order to ensure the buyer is going to get, quality hides, no machine damage, knife cuts, any of that stuff. So, about 70, 80 cents re-ice for fresh. There's reports if you take a straight run, you could buy hides at even half or at least half that price, if not a larger discount than half. So take that for what it is. And our friends in Australia, some decent news coming out of there. People say that the better quality hides are getting some decent demand. They've been able to hold the line on prices, so that's good news. The bad news is lower quality hides continue to labor, and they are not able to get out from underneath those, so still some problems there. So overall, I think an okay week of sales for folks selling hides. It'll be interesting to see their offer list next week. I suspect maybe some guys might take a few more selections off their list. However, that's playing with fire because harvest numbers are going to continue to remain big here in the States. So it's kind of a yin and a yang there. But wouldn't be surprised if Packers tried to push the market up a little bit. Not sure there's enough gas in the tank to push it higher. I think on the other side, you're going to be hard-pressed to buy hides lower. So we're going to call the big packer market steady. Cow hides, soft steady. So that's it for now. Ken Maxfield, the hide guy. Check out my website, www.themaxfieldreport.com. I offer free 14-day trials. Until next week, thanks a bunch.